I'm joking. Let's just do it. Let's just do
You
it.
want to be specific all the time. I know
I
you.
know, right? It's the
It's so good because it's so about so much about craft. Thanks to that, like specificity. What are you dancing today, Peter?
Hmm. Naming is hard. I am standing in front of the window, which is in which is behind the computer. I am dancing behind my eyelids. I'm dancing with my eyes closed. And as I speak about light, windows, cameras in my eyes, I become aware of the shifts and movements, the tones, the colors, the flickering behind my eyelids. And even though I feel like I'm responding to a lot of things, I feel as though I'm moving forwards and backwards. I am rocking, returning, circling, looping, and journeying inside of myself. But Yari, let me ask you a question. What are you responding to today?
I I am I was just responding to your voice as a rhythmical device, but now I think I am responding to your movement still as a rhythmical device. Um,
But what are you dancing? Does that bring up different thoughts, different things?
ah, I thought so that's, it's one of those days I have a feet discomfort.
Mm.
So I'm trying to um, move a bit away because sometimes body discomfort is in relation to something that is constantly in my focus.
Hmm.
But also sometimes when I feel like discomfort in my feet or my joints, I also just need to take action on, yeah, okay, I take out my shoes, or, oh, okay, I just lay down. Like something like simple. So it's not super difficult in that sense.
What is the
Disposable.
what is the discomfort coming from? Is it a injury or fatigue?
Uh, I think it's a bit of but yeah, I don't know really very well. It's a bit fasciitis, I would say.
Mm.
So a little
Yeah,
inflammation of the fascias area, so that become a bit tense.
yeah.
But it's also when posture and when I stay the same kind of relationality, my body in same kind of position then.
Mm.
So also maybe yeah, the fatigue of using the same muscles. I'm also I have a body that is very loose or is very able to move in many ways.
Mhm.
And then it means if I move in only one way,
Mm.
then it's also where I have discomfort.
Do you know what you were doing? What is your body telling you? What story is it speaking of? What
Sorry,
was
can you
it
repeat again?
yeah, what were you doing? What caused
Uh,
your body to
yeah, I was just working a lot standing, not as a dancer
it
and
was
other jobs.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us more? We keep it
Yeah.
a secret.
No, 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 sorry. I mean, I'm working as a personal assistant for a person with disability, but I think actually I've been adding a new job in the port,
Mm.
and this is actually what made it a bit kind of also worst.
Mm.
Standing and waiting for the buses, like so not having the ability
Mm.
to actually shift position or yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how are you responding to the workshop this week? Was that a nice
Yeah.
segue?
I mean, in a way, I was responding really like, oh, when you started to listen to speak, I was like, oh, it's nice to dance on your voice, in that
Yeah.
sense. But then,
Yeah.
of course, I was also simply reacting to my body discomfort,
Yeah.
um, counterpointing that with while using the same part I have discomforts in other ways.
Mm. Mm.
What's about you? How are you? How your workshop is resonating
Mm. Yeah, that's
in you?
interesting. Yeah, resonating because yeah, I was asking how are you responding to it? Because resonation is also this idea of it would affect you and but maybe you're not actively responding to it. Although I spoke about, didn't I, this thing of ignoring, you know, the pink
Yeah,
elephant. If if you if you ignore something, like if you imagine a pink elephant and try to not imagine it, you're somehow having to be with it in order to ignore it. Uh, like where recognition maybe sort of enters, and I mean, of course, it's all response, isn't it? Right? In some regard, nothing is nothing isn't part of a chain of other actions. There's no there's no sort of true emergence, maybe, but equally, there's no origin either, right? No true origin. Like it doesn't. You can't follow the responses back and then say, aha, that's the reason. That's the
the
root.
final reason, right? The
Mhm.
main reason, yeah. Hmm. But I think it's a bit different if you are aware or the skills of listening and responsive skills.
Mm.
So how much actually there is an intention of doing it and how much not.
Hmm.
Maybe if there is not an intention, then it becomes a big the pink elephant.
Yes, yes.
There's these things that you actually, oh yeah, maybe it's far, but no, it's not really this. It's like actually you want to detach from that thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm thinking about all the different genre or group of artists
Hmm.
working on specific things, always in relation to or
Yeah.
against um, a certain kind of thing, ideas that there are in
Hmm.
this in the moment.
Mm. I mean,
And
against ballet is a common one.
for example, right, exactly,
And then it
yeah.
becomes almost bigger, then becomes more essentialized and singular and monolithic than if you were to be indifferent to it.
But I mean, I don't know if this is what's really happened, but if it
Mm.
feels to me that modern dance
Yeah,
was against ballet,
yeah,
was reacting to ballet as like a bit like, and then postmodern dance was reacting to modern dance.
yeah. Okay.
And then I just think about that, it means actually postmodern dance is definitely more far to ballet
Hmm. Hmm.
than modern dance in that sense. So in a
Mm.
way, it's the touch. There is a detach also.
Mm.
I mean, it's simplifying what I'm saying, but you know,
But I've often, because there was also a detachment from music as well during the modern dance
yeah.
period, right? Um,
Or the
sort of,
postmodern, maybe this you mean.
mm, yes, maybe more the postmodern, yeah. Uh, and then but the somehow the irony is uh, that it's at some point I feel as though the music and dance doesn't necessarily have to be separated categorically speaking. And then we have this sort of categorizing, this is dance and this is music. And obviously, I'm not claiming that I can make music, which is maybe part of the problem, but what if we were to imagine a world where conceptually they are entangled? So even if you are doing a dance with no music, because there is rhythm, rhythmicality, there is a body moving, that it could in some regards be considered music as much as it is considered dance. And equally, if there is music with no movement per se, it could be considered dance equally as it is music. I just wonder how this sort of these distinctions sort of break and pull apart. And to that effect, like, is it a response then? Are we responding to the music, or are we not just a part of the music? It's not dance an element of the reason, the motivation, the culture, the feeling, the spirit of making the music is dancing. I was always struck by when I went to New Orleans and went to the museum on jazz, and they spoke very clearly how the music was played in this very specific square where the enslaved people and um, other persons of color could be and celebrate and gather and socialize, that the music was made for dancing. It was made to dance. And they speak about it there. And then dance is not really spoken about in the rest of the museum, and one wonders, when did it divorce? When did it separate? And mm, when did
Mm,
music become solely for doing things other than dancing too?
mm,
And when did dance become solely um, to be done without music or with not to contribute to the music, not to add to the experience of the movement, not to add to the understanding of the music.
mm.
Yeah, I mean,
That-
and it's probably useful as well, but is it? Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Yari. Where am I in in my thinking? I've taken us
No, I
around
mean,
somewhere.
ah, God, I would like to have somebody else here with us.
Who would you conjure?
Uh,
Who will you
yeah.
bring to our room? I'm joking. You don't have
I
to
mean, in
name
this
someone.
in this case, someone
Mm,
with some that has a relation with music,
mm,
probably more than us,
mm,
but also some that doesn't, and this is to me also that doesn't refer all the time about, the Western dance.
mm.
Or
Yes.
the
Mm,
concert dance, the perform also, because I'm mostly referring to that when I'm thinking like, oh yeah, well actually dance really detached from the rest of art very far
yeah,
compare in the Western,
yeah,
very little context of theater.
yeah,
In the beginning there was this opera ballet or whatever, like there was
yeah,
still a lot of like connection with dance as something that maybe has to become like a theater, or then
mm,
always
mm,
this like, oh, dance is in that, or
mm, mm,
and then finally we can say that in our context we can dance. Mostly I dance without music,
yeah,
right? We can say that, I can say that. um 2026. It's a while now. I'm dancing. I mean, if I have to think about the music, about a dance, most of the time I think without music. Not
yeah,
always, but
yes,
of course, in relation also to music. Like what my question would be always like, why? Well, what? But then if I have a context where I know that people have to recognize dance, then very often then I also use music
mm,
just for them to
mm,
enter dance, to make
mm,
sure that they are not left out only
yeah.
because I dance with others. Not all the time, it depends. Sometimes I'm like, no, I want to challenge it. The other time, no, I really need everybody on board on that.
Mm. But what's clear, right, is in dance we have a greater power over space. Well, is that true? Anyway, in some terms, you could sort of suggest that we have a greater capacity to work with space and a greater dominion there, whereas music perhaps has a greater dominion with time because of its uh, because of its nature of how it performs and orchestrates itself. We rarely are dealing with space in terms of music, even though spaces can be very important. How it moves in the room, how it shapes the room, shapes our feeling and understanding of a room is very palatable. Whereas in dance, uh, and especially contemporary dance, right? Especially contemporary dance, we are working with space as something that we have a greater dominion over. We can literally move from one place to another, and that is a condition that is very, mm, it belongs very strongly to dance, which is also why I think often people have to think about dance in relationship to architecture, since it is solely uh,
Right.
functioning within. Not solely. That's probably not true either. It works with sound and rhythm. pattern.
When in one of your workshop,
Mm,
maybe it's one of the first workshop about improvisation. I mean, it was very clear to me that the first things I do when I improvise is to use architecture
mm,
as a lead as a lead. I mean, a leading
mm,
uh, and still in my more social conceptual practice, I arrive in a place and I'm asking what is choreographing me.
yeah.
And I'm very aware I'm speaking about people and places and and movement around me.
Mm,
Or no movement, or I mean or non-movement, that's the
mm,
same. So
yeah.
definitely, I mean, I am it's more easy for me to improvise on the architecture than on the music.
Mhm, mhm,
Because of course the architecture has a less clear rules of how to be improvised. On music, I use music as a noise, a sound, not as
mm,
music.
yeah.
And then it's also another step of music, contemporary music maybe. But we can definitely say that I had to learn a lot in my previous education on dance and traditional dance rhythms for like all those
Mhm,
kind of
mhm,
things,
mm,
where some people have also such a relationship with music so strong and they can just so much vibe so well with the rhythm and so on.
yeah.
And I don't. Very often I actually, and this is very, very also un, uh, unexperimental from my side, but very often I actually work in relation to forms.
Yeah.
And the architectures are forms.
Yes.
Again, in that sense.
And also, I mean, the stages that dance uses, and I mean stages in the sense of like the places in which we find visibility for dance, especially amongst like where we've been trained and our heritage is using space, right? You know, this proscenium arch stage, which then turns into the sort of black box stage, and their their facility is often a sort of ability to use space. You know, dance in that terms, those terms don't work well in a bar and cafe because they don't have the space within which to sort of articulate what has been the sort of primary focus in dance and choreography. Um, I've often one thing that I went back to today. Always often desired to make a sort of mm, temporal choreography that spans a year, right? So it would be a sort of mm, schedule or a calendar that provides a rhythm or a tone to a year. And I always struggle with it. I struggle to sort of mm, understand how to capture it, how to um, formulate it, how to work with it just as a material. Often it just feels so large, 360 points across such a vast amount of time. It's such a difficult compositional space to work in. But yesterday, I sort of set myself the challenge to listen to a new genre of music each day for a year, which is sort of quite easy to do. You know, you can use AI to sort of give you a list of diverse, differing music genres, and then use Google to find music from them. But does this work? Or yeah, makes me makes me curious. Um, about where our attention has been and where the what our infrastructure allows for in what are we responding to? So going back to that bigger question, are we responding to the traditions that um, that we're sort of being given by sort of Western contemporary dance culture and tradition, um, or are we ignoring them and working regardless? Are we trying to are we then and then are we working with just space, like as it's been defined by that tradition, sort of ignoring it as or not responding to it directly, perhaps something like this.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, very often ignoring the theater box, it means not also be aware there is a front.
yeah.
And then also it's a lot of, I would say it could be also a lack then
Mm.
of like exploration, maybe
Mm.
even,
And
or
in one of those things I just realized as well is like we not we, but I remember speaking about and realizing perhaps, there's always race on stage, and there's a
Mm.
danger to not respond to the race that is on stage, like especially when we treat white as a sort of neutral, like it's not putting race on stage, and that as if we can mm, work without responding to it. There's a sense of ignorance around the the fact that the cast is all white or is all male or whatever sort of like identities become a sort of homogeny or default or
yeah.
unquestionable.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I think maybe I already said to you once, it's sometimes in some context, obviously being about why by being a person that identify as a man and also look like a man,
Mm.
I got a lot of privileges in the dance world for
Yeah,
that reason since the first day of dance.
yeah,
And still I get a lot because sometimes it's very clear to me they choose me because they want to have 50-50, like 50%
yes.
men and 50% women. And I do feel like, okay, if there is this idea of 50% men and 50% women, then what's the problem about also
Hmm.
having multiple thinking about race on stage?
Yeah.
What's his what then why it's so far to understand like to think through? Of course it's not black and white. Of course it doesn't mean we have to have 50-50 or we or I mean there is
Mm.
more women in the dance world, again. So it's not so why we should even have 50-50. But I'm just thinking out loud, like it's not as simple. I'm not saying that that will just solve the problem, and maybe also it's a response of that. Who knows?
Hmm.
Of course, will
Mm.
not solve the problem, but like the question is how do we make dance more accessible and or how to give opportunity? Because it's
Yeah,
very clear that when we give opportunity to newcomers or from a context, I'm
yeah.
saying it's very clear that most of the time it's a good choice. It's very clear to me every time I see
Mm.
that some sort of community or some sort of minorities or some sort of different people comes, they're finally come like, yeah, finally something that gives something. And people they're so willing to take opportunity and risk and they're doing so well. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
why are we so gatekeeper? It's so
Yeah.
much, God.
And I mean, and I mean, I hope I don't cut you off.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm
Because
so critical for, and I'm not
no,
even
it's
specific
really,
about that.
I completely agree. It's something that we should also keep on the table, and but especially on that level of like representation and access. And the place that I was sort of kind of interested in is um, this sort of response in terms of creativity. You know, we're responding to the sound and how the sound is acting on us, or how we can negotiate it and create a response to it, or we're responding to the space or others in the room, you know, call and response, we're hearing, seeing, and acting. Um, but also equally, like, are we responding to the color of our own skin and our own race and what it's afforded or not afforded, um, and how are we responding to that, and how do we keep alive all these multiples of responses, um, and give them a sort of weighted space as well for like exploration, and a valuable space of exploration. I mean, I don't know what that would be, but it just occurred to me as a sort of like the the sort of um to sort of argue that I'm not responding to something could be really problematic if we take it into this political realm of privilege.
Mm.
Mm. Because yeah, it speaks of a sort of yeah, sort of yeah, it can start to become exclusionary and um, demand that some things aren't worth responding to. Um, but of course,
Mm.
I guess, can we respond to everything all at once, right? Can we,
No,
and
right.
should we respond to everything? Uh,
I'm thinking
and
also our research is done. I mean, you respond to certain things, not to
mhm,
everything, even
mhm,
about the same theme.
mhm,
You take some reference and other no, but not because those reference, in theory, not because the reference are not um, worthy. It's just because, yeah. So that also is a good question.
yeah,
Can we respond all at once?
yeah, and you know, we were talking about limitations last week and how if they're necessary for
Exactly. Even
improvisation.
the week before, I think.
Yeah. And
All
I think
right.
I'm just wondering, like, is one of the reasons we dance, is it in fact not to respond to some things? Is it to sort of ignore, to, you know, like, uh, to dance is to not do the dishes, like to be sort of like really simplistic and sort of non-political, just for a second, to try and understand the dynamic that perhaps occurs. Um, so to sort of like set aside some issues and set aside some concerns, so to respond to just the rhythm, you know, to lose oneself in the rhythm, you know, this sort of thing, and not deal with mm, the dishes. But it doesn't begs the question of, does that mean
Hmm.
then dance, uh, if dance takes this role of ignorance or mm, ignoring, I made a bit of a jump there from ignoring to ignorance, but maybe there's a value there. Does it become ethical? Can it not be ethical in that sense? Is there something inherent about efficacy that demands that you respond to urgent um, forms of exploitation or domination or exclusion. Um, but equally, it's clear that within dance we can respond to things that perhaps at other times we don't take seriously or we don't give enough time, that are deemed less urgent or less important on a social political stage. Yeah, funny. I'm in a
Yeah.
very pessimistic mood, it seems. Dwelling
Yeah,
on
me too. I'm
the
so sorry.
negative.
Ugh. Yeah, I think it was a bit me pushing on that, and then suddenly,
No,
I
no,
wonder
it's
if
great.
dance
I like it. I like that we can have blue days. Um,
blue days also here.
mm. I last week it was. I really enjoyed last week. We were talking about um, like the need for critique, maybe, and limitations, and having limitations, and the need for
Right.
freedom, and all this sort of stuff. I think it sent me into a bit of an existential spiral of like, wait, what am I doing? How am I doing it? And I tried to write some new workshops, and I
Aha.
failed. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I don't know if I failed. I just came away thinking, feeling as though, oh, I don't know if I have anything to say. Where do am I not just repeating myself? Is any of this relevant? Like, all these sort of
oh
self-doubt,
God.
self-talk, sort of things.
Ah,
And I know, like on some level, I've been doing dance and working creatively with dance for long enough to know that one can just work through it and find a way out. And simultaneously, I'm super aware of how, but also if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything at all, which is not a fair criticism or fair thing to say, because of course you're going to create something, so investing in it is important. But I suppose that speaks more to taking up public space, public stages, public funding, those kind of things often.
maybe, yeah.
But, but I always hope that with a podcast, what is nice is people aren't obligated to listen. They can choose when and how and if at all they engage with what we're putting out. It's interesting. And more media is becoming like that, right? Like you you can't, like linear TV, when you just put on the TV and you just watch whatever is on, is
Yeah.
becoming less and less the way in which we consume media. More often it's that we choose how and when and what we consume. Yeah. Anyway.
I also think, I mean, your
Mm.
workshop are so, for me, are inspiring and very, every time I'm like, oh wow, how did he get until there? So, this feeling of
Mm.
maybe it's I just like, well, not at least for me.
I also find them really inspiring. And if I get into a zone and I find little places, pockets of interest, I can get extremely fixated and fascinated by it. But then, sometimes like now or like last week, it's this sort of like uh, dissolving of the ability to hold on to anything for long enough and maintain an interest in it for long enough for it to generate this sort of generativity that can come from spending time with a question and asking the questions that are super obvious, like like what is call and response? How does it work? You know,
Yeah, I
do
mean,
we always respond to things?
yeah, oh, I wonder if you should also in the workshop invite someone, in that
Mm,
sense, where
mm,
it's you though as bringing a theme
mm,
again in your
mm.
workshop, and then say, oh, this person might really help a lot,
Yeah.
It's also like be curating in that sense.
Mm,
Maybe you suddenly just got so much. You can get so
mm.
much because
Yeah.
you have both, you choose both the theme and the person in relation to.
True. True. Yeah. A new
You
series.
have
I mean,
so many series
I
now.
have a few. I have a few more episodes still, so I'm not running out of
No.
episodes at the moment. But yeah, maybe in a month's time that would be great. Yeah.
By the way, to the listener, soon we will have a new guest also in the after Sarah Mörk
Yeah. So
to visit
we
us.
call it a day in dance. A day in dance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is also exciting.
It's really exciting. I really like the mundanity of it, or so the like just the like lowering the the stakes, so to speak. You know, we all have a day, and I think we can hopefully find entertaining and interesting and fascinating things to discuss in relationship to dance still, because yeah, dance is a broad church, and hopefully we'll find some interesting places to go. So yeah, if yeah, let's yeah, I mean also listener, if you're interested, let us know. We could maybe have you on and we will interview you.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Wow, the light keeps changing and so it gets dark and light all the time. Ah, I don't know. Maybe we should just dance.
Yeah. Let's dance again.
Yeah, let's dance again and let's remember maybe that even when we doubt the authority of our movement or of our dancing, what we're doing, even when we get lost in the repercussions of the efficacy of what is happening, we can still find ourselves dancing. And regardless if it's good, regardless if it's bad, regardless if it's original or um if it's the same old thing just again and again with nothing new, we can still find ourselves dancing in all of those places. So let's dance and let's not mind. Let's dance for the sake of dancing, dance for no other reason, or dance for every other reason.
Or yes, for all the reasons. Oh my God, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yari. I'll give you,
Another good.
yes, another one done. Okay, I'll give you a call after. See you in a minute.